Welcome to the RSP Boiler Room. I'm Matt Waldman with the Rookie Scouting Portfolio. Today we're going to take a look at Joe Mixon, the running back out of Oklahoma. And before we get started, I do have something I need to address specifically about this player or any other player that I would profile who has a well-known issue off the field. I want to make it clear that this is my profession. I analyze players for a living. As a result of that, I don't talk usually about a player's character and I don't study his character because I don't work for an organization that has the resources to employ a team of occupational therapists, former police officers, private investigators, or anybody of the like that can look into a player's past, look into any off-field issues with that player that have been made public or even not been made public, and to make an assessment about not only what happened, but whether or not that player projects to be someone who can be a reliable, law-abiding professional on the field. So that's something reserved for NFL teams. I just judge on-field talent and project that given that all the off-field is in order. So I'm not going to give you, opinions otherwise unless I'm just writing editorials for my blog, and I'm not doing that about Mixon. Today, I'm just telling you what I see about him on the field and just judging him as a running back, not as a human being. In this case, I have my own feelings about domestic violence, and I certainly have seen the tape, but you're not looking for me to give you my take about that. You're looking for me to tell you what I think of him as a running back if the NFL or an NFL team decides that he's employable based on their judgment. Okay, so with that in mind, Joe Mixon is an interesting back, a very good back. At 6'1", 225, one of the things I want to point out about him is his feet, because when it comes to running the ball and with your and you have to have patience. You have to have ability to set up creases. And with that comes having a very strong connection between what you see and how your feet move in reaction to that, because your feet need to be a conductor of what your eyes see. And sometimes what the eyes will see is that a crease is not open yet, and you have to manipulate a little bit of time or buy some time to be able to let that crease unfold. And that's what you're going to see here. But he does this in a way that you don't always see with backs who are good at it. A lot of backs will just cut their stride length. They'll take shorter steps to the crease. And this is something that I haven't really seen Mixon do, at least early on in my studies of his tape. He's a little bit of a longer strider. He makes long jab steps and cuts. But he has a little bit of work, he has a couple of things in his toolbox, let's say, that allows him to let a crease open. And he also has some skills that you don't always see with a running back of his size. The ability to really bend his hips with flexibility. You're going to see this here on this play. Watch it all the way through. You see that bounce outside and then back inside. And he gets downhill and he gains, I don't know, about 26 yards on this play. Now let's look at it one more time. Watch first the bend of the hips. That bend that you see right here allows him to work 90 degrees within one step. That's an impressive cut. He makes it look easy. One more time with that. Look at that. That's very impressive. That kind of looks like the Heisman move, doesn't it? The way that, the statue looks. That's a good bend of the hips. Now when he's setting up this pulling guard, working this crease, and watch him make the slightest little stutter right there, little stutter hop to get through that crease. One more time. It's like even two little stutters there. 1, 2, and then right through the hole. pretty smooth. You know, back like Adrian Peterson and Eddie George, they were pretty good at cutting like this with longer strides and making sharp cuts downhill and then using their size with that momentum downhill to really finish runs. So we're going to look a little bit more at him as we go along through this tape. Mixon reminds me a little bit of Matt Forte, and you're going to see some of that here. I think Matt Forte is a much better back, much better all-around back than what Mixon was at this stage of the game. But, you know, this isn't a comparison that maybe Mixon can aspire to with a lot of work and good opportunities. So we're going to watch this play. I mean, it's a 3-3-5 set. You're going to watch him work, and he wants to get really up the middle on this play. And penetration gets rid of this right guard here. And it's just at the point where Mixon was making his bounce outside 72. And he bounces directly into this penetration. But watch him layer these moves. He bounces to the right and then bounces back inside. It's a nice reaction, nice jump cut there. Two nice moves in a row here. One by accident going into the penetration, but he's quick enough to get outside of it. And he works downhill and makes a nice little jump cut spin move to the inside to gain about 4 yards on the play. Here's another play with some of that jump cut agility that you're going to see from a bigger back. You're going to see this pull to the left by two of his linemen to the right, but it's not going to get there fast enough to get this penetration off the left end at the line of scrimmage. Penetration is going to get upfield about right over here. It's going to force Mixon to make a little bit of a jump cut and then back downhill. And what I like about this play is not only the little jump cut to spot that penetration and get downhill, but he's got two defenders coming at him, and he doesn't try to dance around. There are some backs who have the scat back ability who, when they can jump cut like this, especially bigger backs, they forget that that's only useful if it helps you get downhill. And there's a time for you to get downhill and be a big back. And while he doesn't get hit, you can see that he's got his non-ball carrying shoulder leaned forward as if he was expecting some of that and leaps through to the goal line here. So while he avoids this with good quickness, I like that he went downhill. He had lowered his pads just in case, and part of it's to avoid this penetration here. But the other part was he was anticipating getting hit. And thought maybe he'd get under the hit and get across. He ended up getting inside the hit and getting across. But wise use of the jump cut to just get downhill and make the most of what he can get, and it turned out to be exactly what he needed. Here's a counter play at the 5 of West Virginia, and Mixon runs into his wingback, who's going to work outside this pulling guard, and Mixon should see the crease to the inside. You can see he ends up running into his wingback, colliding and then getting dropped for a yard. Thing is right here, if he'd taken a little shorter step, maybe could have bounced that inside right up the hash and finished this run strong. A lot of backs would have done that. But you're not really seeing his eyes and feet in conjunction here with what they should be reading and reacting to. And instead, he doesn't cut inside, he just rams into the back of his man, and he's dropped for a yard. This is something that's got to get better. You know, as a gap runner, you've got to be able to have decent feet to make this little change of direction here so that you can access the crease. And as you can see, I mean, right here, he should realize that he's gaining ground on his wingback, and this long stride's not going to do. unless it was going to be for him to cut back. And you can say all you want about the snow, but he's made some nifty cuts in the snow today. So that's not really a good excuse. This is just something that he tends to do. He tends to take wide strides to the entrance of the hole. He'll try to use little jump cuts or little hesitations, but he needs to get better at this, especially in short yardage. Here's another interesting play from Mixon's portfolio, and it's about pad level here, because this run he just gets downhill on this kind of a counter play, goes right up the right hash with little hesitation, and watch this defender work across and go deliver a hit. And look at that pad level. That pad level's that way through the crease, and you can see him start to lower his pads right here, about 3 yards away, bounce off that hit and propel himself another 4 yards from that contact. And it's because of that pad level. And he's a 6'1", getting that low like that and being able to bounce off and extend, that's nice. That's the kind of thing that you want to see from a bigger back who has size and strength and can use that pad level to his advantage. Now there's a curious ending to this play, and I'm going to talk about it after you see it. This is an inside zone. You can see him kind of stop here at the edge as he sees there's no crease coming up between this double team, and he waits just long enough so that this guard can get a push, and he bounces it to the outside and then turns on the jets, gets downfield, and then just lowers the pads between his wide receiver and the cornerback to gain about 34 yards on this play. But I want you to look at something here. I don't know about you, but this is the second run in this game that I've watched where he's gone out of bounds, and I've thought, why didn't he cut it back inside? Why didn't he even try to cut it back inside? Why didn't he try and finish strong? Especially where he could have maybe tried to dip it back in with the safety pursuing hard. I mean, maybe not on this play, on this step, but maybe a couple steps before he could have tried to set that up. But he just charges through and does his best to get under and out of bounds. And when I see a play like this, especially in the Sugar Bowl, last game that he's going to play as a college player, I wonder if he's doing this to save his body, knowing that he doesn't want to get hurt, he doesn't want to pull anything, he's trying to take care of himself, making a business decision, as you would say. You know, it's a complicated thing to weigh about players. I remember Isaiah Crowell seemed to make a lot of business decisions at Alabama State when he was there, and I couldn't blame him for that. And there were a lot of reasons why that I've written about in my blog. If you look up Isaiah Crowell, you can see that there at www.mattwaldmanrsp.com. But I wonder about this. So I'm going to want to look back at some of his other tape to see if he's always taking the safe way out or whether he's going to finish strong. Now, I've seen some of Joe Mixon, but I don't remember what he's done at the sidelines enough because it's the first time that I've studied him closely for the rookie scouting portfolio. So it's going to be something I'm going to keep an eye on. Here's another curious play. Now you're going to see the guard and the wingback pull to the outside, which would make you think that Mixon would work outside on this play. But he doesn't do that. He cuts it inside. He's going to cut this right downhill and then push his way for maybe a yard. But if you look here, maybe it's because of the penetration that he decides to cut it inside. But if he's a little more patient, takes a little slower steps to the crease, which is a little hard to do on a play where you're going to pull, but you want to try and hit things hard. But if you're going to hit things hard, you're going to go in the direction that the pull intends you to go, which is outside. And he goes inside. If he goes outside here, I would think that 36 is going to get around enough that he'd be able to take on this linebacker, and Mixon would be able to get outside. And look at this open space here. think that would have made more sense based on this play, even though the penetration cut this off a little bit. So, you know, on one hand, there's a level of where you say, be mature, take the wise decision. If it doesn't look good, don't take your chance bouncing outside, stay inside. But there's also a point where you wonder, you should take a chance a little bit. You're up by 8, late third quarter, you know, not far from field goal range, which again might lead to him wanting to go downhill, I guess. But you'd like to see a guy a little bit more aggressive about going for the big play with his speed and agility. Instead, he just rams it in there. Again, might be the game, might be the fact this is his last one. He's making business decisions here about the NFL, but again, something I want to see more of. Does he bounce these outside in the games leading up to this one, or is he ultra conservative like this? And if he's a little too conservative, well, that's something to keep an eye on. Pass pro also needs some work here, and I've seen a few of his pass protection forays here, and one of the common problems that he has is he's not the first to make a hit, especially when he's first to square the target and he's deep enough that he could close the gap a little bit more. You're going to see that here. Squares the target, look at him, and he's about to be on his heels. I mean, he's leaning backwards more than he is forward here. Not a good position to be in with a defender coming around the corner here. And then he just extends his arms. And if the defender wasn't trying to avoid him, honestly, I don't know why 55 just didn't run him over, because he got run over in the first quarter of this game. And he could have gotten run over right here. But the defender decides to give a little bit of a swim move, and that gives Mixon the out to be able to slide and give a little bit of a push so that his quarterback has time. But let me tell you something. When a veteran NFL defender sees the lack of balance with this setup right here, I mean, it looks good on one level, but if you look at it a little bit closer, he just shoots his butt out and leans into the hit. He doesn't know how to set up the punch. He's backwards here like this. By the time he leans, he's leaning again with his butt out. This is not a balanced look. Look at that. I would tell you right now, Terrell Suggs will just run Mixon over on his way to the quarterback. Just something to keep an eye on. And a lot of backs do this. He has the potential. He's got the size. I think he'll get better, but he's not there yet.